Hi, my name is Chris Holton Jablonski, and it is my great joy and privilege to serve you as your minister. Coming to you with another From Your Minister Junior edition on location in my little fishing corner of our basement where we keep all of our camping stuff, all of my fishing stuff. The rest of the team has the week off for a vacation from the junior edition, but we do have a special contribution from Aaliyah. She actually sort of made up the story, or made up in a painting the story that we're going to share today. So it begins. Once upon a time, there was a garden, and in this garden, there was lots and lots of different kinds of plants. There was a little watermelon patch, which stretched one whole side of the garden. There was an area where there were strawberries, there were some blueberries, there was lots and lots of carrots, and some purple pole beans, and a bunch of spinach and kale. And as the garden grew, and particularly as the season moved on, and as one corner, the watermelon, started to flourish like never before, one watermelon in particular grew big and beautiful. She was so powerful, so beautiful, so wonderful that she started getting noticed by all of the other plants, all of the other vegetables and fruits in the garden. And eventually, she was so beautiful, so powerful, so wonderful that all the rest of the vegetables decided that they would just make her the princess of the garden. And she ruled very kindly and very sweetly. And as she kind of grew into her fullness, she realized she loved music. And so she decided that the garden every single night would erupt into song. And she taught all of the different kinds of plants parts. She had the strawberries singing a little beatbox. And so she would call out to everybody as the sun had set and they knew that the humans were going to be far away. She would call out, "Give me a beat." And the little strawberries would start swaying back and forth, and they were like, "Pff, tss, pff, pff, tss, pff, tss, pff, pff, tss." And she said, "And now for backup." And the big, by this point, full, luscious kale would sway back and forth in the breeze, and they would be singing, "Ooh, ooh." And then she would launch into song. After she had given every single fruit and vegetable a different part, the watermelon princess would sing. Until this one night, this one strange night, where after they had all sung, she felt wonderful, and all of the fruits and all of the vegetables were going to bed for the night. As the darkness deepened around her, she looked up and she saw some strange shapes she hadn't really ever seen before. Strange shapes kind of floating towards her. And earlier she had heard inside the house, while people were watching probably a movie telling a story about zombies. And she saw these big purple zombies. And she tried to shake it off and tried to not be afraid, but she was afraid that they were going to come for her and all of these fruits and vegetables that she so dearly cared for. And the very next night, as darkness came, she was a little bit afraid. She still sang her songs with all of her friends, but as darkness deepened, sure enough, there again were the floating zombie purple balloons, and she was really, really scared again. Scared that they would come for her and all of her friends. So the next day, there was another squash growing pretty close to her. And she told the kind of medium-sized butternut squash the whole story. All these things that she was seeing floating, and she thought that they were zombies, that they were going to come for her and the squash and everybody else. And she asked the squash if she should tell the rest of the fruits and vegetables so they could start making plans and preparing themselves. And the butternut squash said, "My guess is that right now what we need to do is really, really pay attention. So I'll stay up with you tonight, the butternut squash said. And when you see what you see, you tell me, and I'll see if we actually do have purple balloon zombies. And sure enough, they sang their songs, they had a wonderful evening, and as the darkness began to deepen, the butternut squash stayed awake with the watermelon princess. And the watermelon princess said, "See, look, there. They had come back, and they were floating, and it seemed in some ways that they were maybe coming towards her. But the butternut squash said, "Now just look a little more deeply." And she did. The watermelon princess looked, brought all of her deepest attention that she could. And as she looked deeply, she could see that they weren't zombies, and they weren't coming towards her. And she was safe, and all of her friends were safe. The butternut squash said, "I thought I'd seen the neighbors setting up a clothesline, and it seems like they're drying swimming trunks and swimming suits on this new clothesline every night after a long day of playing in their sprinklers." And sure enough, from a distance and swaying in the breeze, they sort of looked like they were alive, but it was really swimsuits. And the watermelon princess was so grateful, and she slept so deeply that night. Amen. And I tell you that story because this week, in our midweek message and then in the worship on Sunday, we're talking about one of our sources, which we've been looking at this summer, wisdom from the world's religions. And in particular, I'm talking a little bit, and somebody from the church named James West is talking about Buddhism and Buddhist practice. And one of the big things from Buddhist practice is about paying attention. And sometimes, especially in times like this, when maybe we're experiencing fear and so much unknown, we don't know what we're seeing, sometimes we can tell ourselves even more scary stories about what we're seeing. But if we really pay attention and we really drill down into some of the feelings that we're having, if we really open up and pay attention to what's going on, sometimes we can be surprised. And this I wanted to show you before we go. So this is the painting Aaliyah just made. And she explained to me that this was the watermelon princess, and these were the purple zombies. And I told her, "Well, thank you, Aaliyah, because you just made up this week's story." So much love to you all. Please do feel free to send some mailbag questions if you like. We'll be starting a couple new things pretty soon as the year starts up, but know now and always, know that you're held and that you're loved, and know that we're going to make it through this strange moment together. So much love to you all. Amen.